Hi, everybody. It's been a long day, and I hope you found it a worthwhile day. Um, and I hope, and I am here going to promote JDI unashamedly, that you appreciate the effort that JDI is making to provide a space for the South African Jewish community to come together under a shared banner of support for human rights. But actually, if you think about it, if we lived in a more perfect world, if you imagine that, there shouldn't be any need for us to be here today. We would, of course, all be gathered in Cape Town, a few blocks up the road at the Community Center and Holocaust and Genocide Museum, and in Johannesburg and somewhere upmarket in Sandton, to voice, as the South African Jewish community, our horror at what Israel is doing to Gaza and Gazans, and call for an immediate ceasefire, withdrawal of the IDF, release of all prisoners, and most urgently surging humanitarian aid into the Strip. And at this gathering, we would be addressed by the establishment community leadership, by the chief Orthodox rabbi, the progressive rabbis, teaching us the Torah values, truth, justice, peace, they would say. And the Zionist Federation would explain why Israel's survival depended on all of us lending solidarity to an immediate ceasefire leading to a negotiated settlement. And the South African Board of Deputies would explain why there is no place for hate. And to combat anti-Semitism, we must place South African Jews at the forefront of a fight for human rights and justice in the Jewish homeland. But we don't inhabit this reality. So here we are. And I assume that most of us here do understand that no matter what we were taught about the Jewish people and Israel, what we are witnessing today is a travesty of values that we hold dear. And indeed, those Torah values that I mentioned before: truth, justice, peace. So what do we do? At a minimum, within our community and families, how do we combat the worst instincts and justifications that we hear from our friends, from our family? What do we say to them that demand that we uncritically support Israel? Number one, most important, do not remain silent for fear of offense or some other reason. Demand to agree to disagree at a minimum. Please don't be intimidated. I know we've all heard the excuses, the platitudes. Israel has a right to defend itself. But of course it does, which is exactly what it did not do on October the 7th. And by the way, do Palestinians have the same right? Here's another one. Israel has a right to exist. Well, of course it does. Do Palestinians also have a right to a state? Don't know. What I'm alluding to here is the importance of holding on to your moral compass, of trusting what you see, what you hear, what you read, of not simply receding into silence, intimidated by an apparent consensus built on manipulation and distortion. Yes, we've all heard the excuses about Israeli actions in Gaza and the occupied Palestinian territories. The fertility count is wrong. They're Hamas figures. They can't be trusted. There's enough food delivered into Gaza. Hamas is stealing it all. And on and counter propaganda to what we actually see with our own eyes or understand from credible organizations within the UN, from eyewitnesses, from the victims themselves. And oh, I forgot, the overarching justification It's all anti-Semites. UNRWA is a terrorist organization. The UN has breached its own charter. Absurd claims, even if repeated until they cease to be questioned. They all want to kill us, we hear. Still, there's one more point to take back with you into our community. There's absolutely no need to choose sides. Refuse to be recruited into the pseudo fight against anti-Semitism as a requirement with alignment with your own and our own South African Jewish community. Be simultaneously pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian. Remain steadfast in the essential commitment to human rights. All humans and all rights. Not the pro-Israel of violence and oppression, and not the pro-Palestinian of counter-violence as the only solution. Take our own example of a constitutional democracy as a lodestar. We've often been told Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Although this has never been the case, why can it not be so? Let us as a community lend solidarity to those in Israel-Palestine who are working for a shared society and a just and democratic future. So seemingly obvious things, but they do need repeating. So, to close, just to repeat our plea as JDI, support our organization with love, with solidarity, and occasionally some money would assist. Don't give up on our South African Jewish community. Don't walk away in disgust or despair. The state of Israel exists. This is our reality. Part of its reason for existence is meant to be representational of Jews everywhere. This is our justification for the importance of diaspora voice, a strident, amplified voice that supports human rights in Israel-Palestine, that condemns the violence, that opposes the repression and suppression of all who are not Jewish. So join us, join JDI as the South African component of that voice. So I'm going to end now because it's been a long day, but I want to leave you with words from another time, another country, but they do remain pertinent. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, he was an activist in the US struggle for civil rights in the 1960s. Delving deep into Jewish theology, and of course guilt, he said the following: morally speaking, there is no limit to the concern one must feel for the suffering of human beings. Indifference to evil is worse than evil itself. And in a free society, some are guilty, but all are responsible. So friends, please, let's live responsibly.